It started with an ad, a simple, desperate plea for quick cash. Emily and Ethan, twins bound not only by blood but by a lifetime of misfortune, had exhausted every option. Their parents were gone, debts piled high, and eviction loomed over them like a guillotine. In a final bid for salvation, they listed the last thing of value they owned, an antique mirror, a family heirloom passed down for generations. The listing had barely been up for an hour when a reply came through. "I'll buy it. Name your price." The message was signed with a single initial, D. Emily hesitated, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. The mirror had always unsettled her. Something about its ornate silver frame, the way the glass always seemed darker than it should be, made her uneasy. Their mother had warned them never to sell it, never to let it leave the house. But with no other choice, she typed back a number. $10,000. Too high, she thought. No one would pay that much for an old mirror. Deal. Her breath hitched. That was too easy. The buyer insisted on picking it up that night. Despite Ethan's protests, they agreed. The sooner they had the money, the sooner they could escape the suffocating weight of their debts. As the clock neared midnight, the doorbell rang. The air in the house seemed to thicken. Emily felt it first, a prickling sensation down her spine. Ethan, ever the skeptic, rolled his eyes and swung the door open. A man stood there, tall and draped in a long black coat. His features were obscured by the dim porch light, but his eyes, dark, bottomless voids, were unmistakable. He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. His presence made the small living room feel even smaller. The mirror was already wrapped and leaned against the wall, ready for transport. The man, D, ran his fingers along its frame before nodding approvingly. "It has been waiting for me," he murmured. A chill swept through Emily, but before she could speak, D reached into his coat and produced a thick envelope. 10,000 as promised. Ethan snatched it greedily, flipping through the crisp bills. But Emily couldn't shake the unease clawing at her stomach. "Why do you want it?" she asked. Dee's lips curled into a slow, knowing smile. "Because it remembers." Emily's breath caught in her throat. The room dimmed, shadows stretching unnaturally toward the mirror. Ethan, oblivious, handed over the wrapped glass. "A pleasure doing business," Dee said, turning toward the door. He paused. "One last thing. You should leave this house tonight." His tone was calm, but there was an urgency behind his words that sent a shiver through her bones. Before she could ask what he meant, he was gone. The twins stood in silence, the envelope heavy in Ethan's hands. The moment should have been triumphant. Instead, the house felt wrong, as if something had shifted, as if something had been awakened. Then, the whispers began. The first whisper was barely audible, a breath of sound curling through the dimly lit living room. Emily thought it was the wind until she saw Ethan's expression freeze. "Did you hear that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan nodded slowly. "Yeah. But it's just our nerves, right?" The twins turned in unison toward the empty space where the mirror had been. The room felt exposed, hollow, as if something had been ripped away that had no right to leave. Then, the whisper came again, distinct this time, a soft voice calling their names. Emily staggered back. That wasn't the wind. Ethan swallowed hard, suddenly looking younger than his 24 years. "Maybe we should leave. Just for the night." But it was too late. The house groaned, a deep, shuddering noise that made the walls seem to pulse. The dim light flickered. Shadows stretched unnaturally long, bending, twisting. Then, in the empty space where the mirror had stood, something moved. A reflection. Emily's breath hitched. There was no glass there, no surface to reflect anything. And yet, a vague, shifting shape shimmered, its form warping as if struggling to take shape. Then it stepped forward. A figure peeled itself from the air, emerging like a mirage solidifying into flesh. It was a woman. No, a distorted version of one. Her limbs were too long, her face unnervingly blurred, like a smudged painting. Her mouth opened, but her lips didn't move with the words. "You took it away." Emily let out a strangled gasp. Ethan grabbed her wrist, yanking her backward. Who? What are you? The figure cocked its head. We were here. We were always here. You let him take it. Now we are loose. The temperature plummeted. The air thickened, pressing against them like a weight. Ethan stumbled as the lights flickered violently, plunging the room into darkness. A new sound joined the whispers, a chorus of voices, layered and discordant. Bring it back. Emily's mind reeled. The mirror. They mean the mirror? Ethan fumbled for his phone. We have to call him. We have to get it back. But when he tried to dial, the screen flickered and went black. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, clawing at their ears like nails against glass. It's coming, the figure rasped. You sold it to him. You made the deal. Now he holds the door. Emily was shaking. What does that mean? Who is he? The figure's blurred face twisted.
D.
The name sent a shock through Emily's chest. The buyer, D, had known. He had warned them. He had taken it for a reason.
But why?
And what had they unleashed by letting it go? Before they could react, the room convulsed. The walls buckled. Shadows swallowed the light entirely, plunging them into a void. And then, the house screamed. Darkness consumed everything. Emily and Ethan felt the house stretching, warping around them as if something massive and unseen was twisting it into new, unnatural angles. A pressure built in the air, a force pushing them down as whispers turned to guttural screams. Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, everything stopped. A single, flickering candlelight appeared in the center of the room.
And, standing beside it, was D.
You should have left, he said, his voice eerily calm. But now you have only one choice. He extended his hand, and in it, the mirror, fractured, humming with a dark energy. You must make a deal. Emily and Ethan had no choice. If they wanted to survive, they had to bargain with the darkness they had unleashed.